Adjusting your audio levels is fairly standard when you're making adjustments for an entire clip at once. However, when you need to make audio adjustments within the boundaries of a clip, you need to do things just a little differently. So in this movie, we're going to explore how to perform audio keyframing. So I'm going to go into my 6.3 keyword collection, Keyframe Begin. And in the previous movie, we set all of our interview audio at the correct level, we brought our music down, and we also mixed our ambient audio within our B-roll correctly. But I had mentioned that at the very beginning of the sequence, it'd be nice if we had the music up a little bit louder until Mike started talking. So let's go ahead and add keyframes so that we can do that. Again, I'll just zoom in here, and I'm going to come to my little audio line. And if I hold down Option, you can see that I get a little diamond with a plus sign in it. So I'm simply going to add 2 keyframes right there on the line. Now I can drag this keyframe up. I can also click right on the line and drag it up and down. And it's automatically going to ramp from one keyframe value to another. So let's go ahead and play this and see how it sounds.
So in the United States right now, there's a little over 37,000.
So I think it's okay. I might bring the music up just a little bit more, and I might make the ramp a little less steep so we can make a little bit more of a gradual change, like so. And let's play that.
So in the United States right now, there's a little over 37,000.
Easy enough. Now there are a few more ways that I can do that. I'm going to just delete this keyframe by right-clicking and choosing Delete Keyframe, and I'll delete this one as well. If you don't want to Option-click on the line, you can actually use your Range Selection tool to get the job done as well. So I'm going to go into this menu here and choose my Range Selection tool, keyboard shortcut R. So I'll just press R, and then I'll drag a range where I want the keyframes to go, and then I can just simply drag up, and my keyframes are created for me. By default, with the Range Selection tool, your keyframes are inserted a bit steeply, so again, you can change those if you like.
So in the United States right now, there's...
So pretty easy. Let me actually show you what I think is an even easier way to do that, though. I'm undoing the keyframes there. I'm going to go back to my Select Tool A, and instead of enabling my Range Selection tool and then performing the range selection and then going back to my Select tool, watch what happens if I just hold down the R key as I drag. Notice I temporarily enable my Range Selection tool, but I go right back to my Select tool. So in that case, I don't have to switch back and forth between tools. So now that I've made all those adjustments, let me make sure that I'm happy with this.
So in the United States right now, there's a little over 37,000 not-for-profit organizations.
And I'm just going to go to the very end where I'm going to do a little bit of a different adjustment, but we have a nice finish here, and I'd like to accentuate that by keyframing my volume up.
I've been on this trip. Now, there's not a better job interview in the world than a Project Reload trip.
So let's go ahead and add a couple more keyframes so that this really comes up, and then we can have the Project Reload logo at the very end. I'm just going to press R as I drag, and then I'll bring my line up, and we should have a nice punch here at the end. So I think that's the punch that I'm going for, but maybe I don't want to go quite up to 12. I am peaking a little bit too much there. So I'm going to open up my inspector, and with that keyframe selected, let's go ahead and just make that 10. And we brought that down, and I think I'm happy with that.
On a Project Reload trip.
And we'll have the nice logo there, and it'll be a dramatic finish. Let me do Shift-Z. Now I want to mention that it isn't only for music. It can be for dialogue as well. There are several places where my interview subjects talked more loudly than others, and so I can come in and fix those moments with keyframes. For example, right here, it looks like Joe's levels are rising a little bit too hot here. I'll play over it.
To the next one, we have thousands of veterans. That process doesn't scale.
Now it's probably fine, but you know what? I'll just lower it just a tiny bit. So I'm just going to Option-click right here, and we'll bring it down just a smidge. And you can see that we're no longer peaking hot there. Let's listen.
To the next one, we have thousands of veterans. That process doesn't...
And if you looked over here in our audio meters, we were no longer rising above -6. We were peaking properly. I'll play that one more time.
The next one, we have thousands of veterans. That process doesn't scale.
And I have a few more downstream that we can take a look at. For example, right here, we have Casey talking, and his levels are a little hot here.
Those executives are going to go to their HR and say, again, we need to relook at.
So I'll zoom in just a little bit more, and I'll option click, and we'll bring that down just a bit. And I think that should be fine.
Those executives are going to go to their HR and say, again, we need to.
So as you can see, you can make some real subtle changes with keyframes. Now there's just one more way to fade audio within a clip, and it's at the very beginning or very end of a clip. When you hover your mouse over the very edge of the beginning or end of a clip, you can see that you get a little fader knob, and you can see that you can drag into fade, and you have a lot of leeway on what this ramp looks like. In fact, if you right-click on this, you can see that this is what your fade curve looks like. But if you want it to be a little bit more linear, for example, you can change it. And I'll bring that back a little bit. So this sort of thing can be good to fade at the beginning and end of clips, and also to fade from one clip to another if you need to smooth something out. So as you can see, keyframing your audio is both a simple and powerful technique to raise and lower your audio levels within the boundaries of a clip, and it's certainly something that you'll use all the time in audio editing.